Last thing that I'm going to go over, and I'll go over this in class as well, but in case you are forgetting about it, for assignment 1, right? Exercise 1 was the sort of metering stuff that we just did. You'll do it inside, you'll do it outside, it'll be fine. Assignment 1 is doing a little bit of metering with your camera. And then sort of comparing that camera metering with handheld metering. Remember, our meter has a lumisphere on it, right? It is measuring the light that is landing on the meter, right? It is not measuring the light bouncing off your subject. What that means is that I'm going to get the same exposure if I meter my white self, right? Or if I meter someone with a very dark skin tone. I meter someone with a medium skin tone. The meter reading is going to be exactly the same because it's measuring not the light bouncing off, right, but the light falling on it. This should all be reviewed, should have gone over this in lighting, but just in case. Your camera's meter is not measuring the light falling on something, it's measuring the light bouncing off of something. This should be obvious, right, because my camera, if I'm taking a picture, of myself, I do not do that by putting my camera up next to me. I do it by putting my camera way over there and pointing at me, right? So it is measuring whatever light bounces off of me and goes back into the lens. So that's the main difference between our two cameras. It's also the reason why using a handheld meter is much more accurate, generally speaking. So for our metering assignment, we will do 3 sort of different camera settings. We'll set it to a spot meter, right? So it's a very tight meter, right? So my camera is just going to pay attention to a small portion of everything it can see. We will set it to matrix/evaluative and do that. Those are sort of like your fancy camera specific ways of doing it. Again, look it up in your manual. If you have a Sony like I do, I don't remember what it's called. So whatever their like general evaluative metering is. So instead of a super tight spot, it's a little bit broader. It's kind of using its own computer brain to figure out what the exposure should be. And then center weighted, which is basically saying, okay, the entire frame, right, but give more prominence to whatever's in the middle. This is generally pretty good because we're usually taking a picture of something that is kind of in the middle. But if I'm taking a picture of something where I'm way over here and my background is, say, bright white or bright black, that's going to throw it off. So part A, spot meter, part B, evaluative and center weighted, and part C, using this. Now, for each of those 3, or at least the first 2 meter readings, we're going to, for part A, do it on 3 different tones of material. So I say, back in the day, I would have given you like a white piece of paper, a gray piece of paper, and a black piece of paper. Obviously, I can't reach through Willy Wonka style and give these things to you. So you're going to have to figure something out, right? I happen to have this big negative fill that I used. It's a little shiny, right? So I don't want to do that because that makes it not black but gray, right? I want to sort of have it be relatively black. I have a white other side of it. I could just as easily use a white piece of paper, a black pair of jeans. If you use something floppy like jeans, just sort of wrap it around a book so that you have something that you can like hold up and won't flop around. And then I need something gray. I happen to have this gray binder. If you don't have anything gray, right? If you can find a piece of paper, you can find a t-shirt, right? We want it to be sort of a nice medium gray. If you don't have anything gray, you could use something like a piece of medium toned cardboard, right? Because our camera is not really looking at what color it is, it's looking at how light it is, how much light reflects off of it. So for those, for part A, you are going to have your camera in a position, you're going to have your model in a position. Your model will hold up, let's say the gray one, right? I think you start with the white one, and then you are going to come up with your camera so that it fills the screen, meter that. So you're metering just off the white thing, going back to your position, taking a photograph. Then you're going to go back and do the gray one and the black one. In each case, we're looking for a photograph that's sort of, head and shoulders, like maybe waist up. So that's why you're coming up, making that image, and then going back, right? If you try to take a picture with me holding something small and white from very far away, it's not going to cover everything. You won't get a real meter reading off of just that one tone piece of whatever. So there you go. You will write down your meter readings for each of those three, and you'll take a photograph, not of them holding the board, but of them at the settings that you got when you metered each of them, right? So I'll meter off the white one, go back to my position, take a picture, come up, meter off the gray one, right? Set my camera to that, go back, take a picture, and then meter off the black one, set my camera to that, go back, take a picture, right? So I don't need the person holding the thing in the photograph. That would not be right. So that is part A. Part B, you're not using these things. You're just setting your camera to either matrix, evaluative, or whatever Sony calls it, right? Taking a picture based on what it says you should do, doing it center weighted, taking a picture based on what it says you should do, and then part C, we're using our handheld meter, right, and taking a picture based on what our handheld meter says we should do. This will be a way for you to see how your camera's meter reading is affected by the tone of what you're photographing, and also what, if any, differences you get between center weighted spot and your handheld meter. And hopefully will mean that when you go to take pictures in the real world, if you are looking at your camera's meter, you will have a better idea of what the accuracy of that will be for the photographs that you take.